Now, tourism remains one of Kenya's biggest income earners, and according to a report for the year 2024, Kenya earned about 452.2 billion Kenya shillings from tourism. Such an amazing report. Now, Maasai Mara remains one of the biggest income earners for this country, and this happens through the annual wild beast migration that happens between Kenya and Tanzania. Now, this has not been all rosy because we have a lot of human development that is affecting how the ecosystem is working out. And one of them is people building camps and hotels along the places where wild animals cross. As you saw in a video that was shared across, say in the last 1-2 weeks ago, we saw tourists who are blocking animals from crossing over. And this is not sitting well with a lot of environmentalists and community members. We're in Maasai Mara to speak to several of them just to find out what is happening and how we got to this level. And also find out what solutions they are offering so that we're not just having problems. Come with us. As the golden sun rises and lights up above the beautiful savanna in Narok County, tourists enjoy a surreal experience overlooking the grasslands and tranquility of the Mara in hot air balloons. The Maasai Mara National Game Reserve, often described as the eighth wonder of the world, is one of Kenya's spectacle referred to as the Great Migration. The dramatic river crossings of the Mara, where wild beasts face the risk of predators such as crocodiles, attracts about 400,000 tourists annually, contributing significantly to Kenya's income. This annual spectacular event is, however, at risk if physical development in the reserve overrides conservation.
There has been a rush to build hotels and camps in the Maasai Mara Game Reserve. And that is where I think the problem comes in, because the county government is supposed to regulate how many camps can be built within. This is not a very big reserve. It's only 1,510 square kilometers. So the county government has a duty to make sure that we don't overdevelop the game reserve, and more importantly, that we don't build these camps and lodges in critical wildlife corridors. The Ritz Carlton Marriott Hotel, which is located here, it's a new hotel. It was opened just last week. It's located on the Sun River, which is the actual boundary between Kenya and Tanzania. This camp sits right on the border of Serengeti and Maasai Mara Game Reserve. That's an international boundary.
Ritz Carlton issue. There is even a video circulating currently online that you can see wildebeest crossing in the few points of the tents of the Ritz Carlton, next to the tents. So imagine a scenario whereby a client is hit by a wildebeest or even attacked by lions while trying to follow up on the wildebeest.
They've built two massive bridges, which any kind of construction at that level has immediate environmental impacts. They have altered the entire riverbank by building, really like concretizing the riverbank so that the hippos and all the other animals cannot scale the riverbank into the camp. So how do you build concretize? How do you build concrete on an entire, riverbank to keep the animals away? This is their habitat. The hippos will have to cross to come out of the river and climb the river banks on this side to go and find grazing. Hippos come out at night to go and graze.
It is estimated that there are over 150 camps and lodges located in the Maasai Mara National Reserve and various conservancies neighboring the reserve. Dr. Meitamei Oledapash, a conservationist within the Mara, argues that the number could be higher and an overkill for a reserve he considers small with a delicate ecosystem.
So I'm saying the Ritz Carlton came at the wrong time when this park should not have allowed a single construction of a lodge or a camp inside the park.
What's the ideal number as per maybe the county regulations?
The indulgence of scientific data, the analysis of scientific data to determine the carrying capacity for the game reserve. So we need science in this case. But if people who are running this park have no science background, how do you expect them to even take into consideration? The resources in this park are not finite. They are not finite. They extinguish. They things wear out. Ecology is changing all the time, depending on the use and so forth. So the park is overburdened.
Recently, Kenyans were in disbelief when a viral video on social media exposed tourists blocking animals from crossing over the River Mara as they enjoyed the migration spectacle. Tourism CS Rebecca Miano, later reaffirming Kenya's commitment to conservation and safety, issued directives asking visitors to remain in their vehicles at all times unless in designated areas while in the Mara Reserve.
The other issue that we have with this camp is that it sits on a critical wildlife migratory corridor. I have said consistently, and that's what I'll continue saying, that this camp is built on one of the most critical wildlife migratory corridors. It is the last crossing points for wildebeest, especially from Serengeti to Maasai Mara Game Reserve. Beyond that, it's all Serengeti National Park.
The Maasai community who play host to the reserve are crucial in the preservation and conservation of Mara. However, community members are now complaining of being overlooked, yet they play a critical role and hold indigenous knowledge key for the survival of the ecosystem that has been passed across generations. Were you involved in public participation before such things happen?
The only public participation that I remember is when they were coming up with the Maasai Mara Management Plan. But now, whenever there is any violations, whenever there is any new development, like the Ritz Carlton that is in discussion, they have never informed the community.
Actually, it's very close to the confluence of the Mara River and Sand River.
Okay.
This place forms a triangle.
So this is like where the rivers meet?
So yeah, very close to where the rivers meet. Just right at the confluence of Mara River and Sand River.
So what you're saying is that when this wildebeest happen to cross, usually the crossing, which is what brings people to Mara, is where they cross, and that's where the camp is.
That's where the camp is, but the important point to make here is the last crossing. Beyond that, it's all Serengeti. So these wildebeest will have to abandon that corridor and begin to find a new corridor elsewhere along the Sand River to cross into Kenya.
When you saw that video, how did it make you feel?
Okay, personally, that was very shameful. Coming out of the seventh wonder of the world, Maasai Mara, and happening in a place where it's being watched all over the world. So imagine the image it painted the Mara, that when a tourist or someone who is so much interested with wildlife, seeing animals being chased away, being blocked away by the people, under the watch of county rangers, under the watch of the people who are supposed to be protecting the wild. So I can say personally that was a broad daylight hunting.
There is a reason why they chose that place and not 5 kilometers downstream. And so when you interfere with this natural, traditional migratory corridor, you are upsetting nature. You are undermining the workings of nature because of greed, because of the big dollars that you see in creating this supposedly, pristine, pristine located property that tourists can come and pay $3,500. So you're interfering with nature. The other thing is, what right do you have as a human being to disrupt everything, to disrupt the workings of the ecosystem? What rights do you have as a person? It's not your land, it's wildlife land in this particular case.
Having seen that video, I can't believe that such things can happen in the Mara that has a wall security agency or a management that is usually overseeing the same thing. So I think now that is an evidence to everyone that Ritz Carlton is in a zone that is the closing area of the wildebeest. So that we can't look for any other evidence. That is the evidence, because you can see the wildebeest closing because I've been looking for their part. But since their part has been blocked by the lodge, that's why they were closing near just next to the Ritz Carlton.
This camp is the tents are literally 4 or 5 meters away from the riverbank. Which is also another violation of.
What's the standard?
Well, in fact, as as I learned yesterday, it's 30 meters. No, I've always assumed it's 15. But, I learned yesterday it's 30 meters. These ones are 5 meters from the riverbank. The wildebeest have to reorient their mind and their tradition, because these animals just don't cross, they don't follow these corridors for no reason. It's something that they've done for generations, for millennia. And to come and erect a structure, a huge structure that blocks this path, it creates confusion, disorientation, and the wildebeest will have to find another place to call a crossing.
It was just a broad day hunting. Because you chase the wildebeest to go back to the crocodile. You start even not. That's a very bad character. And what I personally say, the day we cut the last tree, and the day we poison the last river, we will know. We will now come to learn that money has no value without conservation.
If you kill the wildlife, if you kill the migration, next year but one, where are you going to get that money that we are talking about? There has to be a sustainability element in every type of business we do. And there is none in the Mara. I care less about the figures that they give us. I care more about the long-term survival of this park, which is actually the more of a guarantee for the economic benefit of the nation, as opposed to this year 600 million, and then 10 years later there's nothing to harvest. Here in Mara, you have a wildebeest that comes to drink water at a certain point, drinking point. That wildebeest will leave Maasai Mara, go into Serengeti, follow the normal, migratory route they've followed for years, all the way to Lake Victoria, up, down, below Ngorongoro, up. The next year, this time, that same wildebeest, if it's alive, will come to drink water at the same place. Animals are highly intelligent. They know everything. And where an animal experiences trauma, chances are that they will not come there next year, because they will remember the trauma, the experience they had. If they've been, like you saw, the recent footage of wildebeest, hundreds of thousands of them stranded in the river because they could not, cross onto the other side of the river. you know, these animals next year, when they come back, they will remember that experience.
Environmental assessments are vital before such constructions are carried out in such an ecosystem. However, Dr. Meitamei alleges the assessment for this project was flawed and has since moved to court to challenge NEMA, which is the government body tasked with this role.
When we wrote to NEMA, they told us that this Ritz Carlton Marriott Hotel met all the requirements. We have sufficient evidence to show that there was no due process followed completely. And therefore, NEMA will have to explain that in the court. We have evidence to show that the process was extremely flawed. They had to cut tons and tons and tons of trees that are, you know, in my estimation, they must be 100 years old or more. In this, as you can see in the Mara, you know, the Mara doesn't have a lot of trees. Yeah. Most of the big forests you see along the riverbanks, those are the riverbanks that everybody wants to build. They have to cut the trees. They have to cut these trees that will take another 100 years to grow.
It is just that this issue raises a lot of questions when we have a lot of issues raising about the new developed camps which are now blocking the tourism, like the Ritz Carlton and also some of others, because there are many. But you know, this thing has been happening. It was just normal for us because it has been happening. But now you see when people from, like for example, you are first for time to see such things. Yeah. So we want to say now, Mara is not in safe hands.
The disturbance of wildlife and the ecosystem has a direct impact on nature. Human development affects wildlife behavior, and for the Mara, this is evident in the numbers and duration of the Great Migration experience over time.
Some 10 years ago, let me say, wildebeest migration would last 3 to 4 months here in the Mara. The migration this year started in July. They are already going. It's barely 1 month since the migration began, and they're on their way out. Why? There is grass here, a lot of grasses. If you went into the park, you'll see the park there's no grass. There are many areas that this wildebeest have not gone to. It's just too much disturbance. Vehicles, harassment, and people, these animals just begin to face south because that's where there is peace. 5 years ago, this wildebeest would go all the way to the Loiter Plains, which is just approximately 20 kilometers out of Narok town. You cannot see a single wildebeest between the Mara now, between the conservancies here in the Mara and Loiter Plains. Why? Because there are a lot of fences, the wildebeest die there, they get traumatized there, and they don't want to go there next year.
While opening the 2025 Great Wildebeest Migration global live streaming in Mara in July 2025, President William Ruto confirmed that Kenya is on a campaign that aims to attract 5 million foreign tourists by 2027.
Our targets are 5 million in the medium term. And we believe that
the president cited Mara as the crown jewel of Kenya's tourism, offering sustainable tourism where communities thrive, ecosystems flourish, and travelers live enthralled. The Maasai community around the Mara says this may be a pipe dream if these issues remain unresolved.
I direct this to the government bodies, NEMA being one of them, Tourism Fund, and KWS. Majority of the camps are built in what is called riparian lands. Proper sewaging is not done. So we are losing Mara, we are losing the fish, we are losing the crocodiles and all the animals which live in the water because of the sewages which are being directed to the rivers, because these camps are developed along the rivers.
We also need to strictly implement Maasai Mara Management Plan 2023-2032. This is a document we all participated in its crafting, in its approval and adoption. it's not being followed. It seems to me that we voted on a document that we thought would bring relief and solutions to issues facing Mara, but they are using a different document, because if that document was being followed, we would not be talking about the Marriott issue, because it's been built after that management plan, which put a moratorium on further development on wildlife corridors and critical ecological areas.
The day we cut the last tree and the day we poison the last river, we will know, we will now come to learn that money has no value without conservation. Yes.
Money has no value without conservation.
Yes.
Wow, that's very deep.
Yeah.
So those are the feelings and takes of people who are used firsthand, conservationists and involved in Mara. So I hope the government can take these issues serious and try and do the best you can to fix this for not just us, but for the generations to come. Mara is for us all, and we must, I think, as a Kenyan, everyone should be concerned when we see such videos circulating.